Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nate, and welcome back to another weather forecast discussion for February 16th, 2022. We are now very close to the now major weather outbreak that more than likely will occur from tonight all the way into tomorrow night, which could include significant tornadoes as well as heavy snow and ice totals across portions of the United States and Canada. Now, unlike my videos in the past, we will not be going into detail about how this actually all came together. However, if you do want to know how everything has led up to this point, please be sure to check out my videos. We've been tracking this ever since February 4th, which is a really long time in weather. Usually you wouldn't be able to start tracking things until about a week in advance, and we've been tracking it for about 2 weeks in advance. So if you guys would like to continue to stay up to date with the channel, please be sure to follow me here by subscribing and turning on notifications. And I could potentially be live streaming tonight. All right, there's a threat for tornadoes sometime around midnight all the way through until 4 in the morning. So I will more than likely be staying up until around then, and if I continue to see trends move off into the general vicinity of where there could potentially be tornadoes, I will be going live sometime tonight to catch that peak tornado risk. But otherwise, tomorrow morning into the afternoon, I more than likely will be live streaming sometime around 11 to 12 in the afternoon. So you guys need to stay tuned to the channel, as I will be providing live and free radar analysis going over where these tornadoes could potentially be, as well as how significant they could be. Otherwise, let's dive straight into the analysis here, and let's talk about the general flow of the atmosphere by taking a look at the satellite imagery. We got a couple things to look at. First off, we have our big Alberta clipper that's starting to move on through. You can see the counterclockwise flow in the atmosphere up here towards portions of Ontario and Quebec. This is creating a giant boundary that's elongating to this other surface low pressure system that is now dipping across portions of the United States. Before it was riding along the western coast, now it is starting to turn, and eventually it's going to start digging on through the central portions of the United States. And that is the reason why we have a bit of a severe risk. If we take the satellite imagery off, you can see that we have our risk here, our convective outlook from the Storm Prediction Center overlaid over our map here. We have a 1 out of 5 in the severe weather scale indicated in the dark green, 2 out of 5 in yellow. So wherever you guys are within these areas, that is your risk for severe weather. And that does include portions like Tulsa, like Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, Dallas, Fort Worth, areas near Lawton, Seymour, Paris. You guys are getting your activity. If we take a look at the tornadic outlook, we do have parameters here that could indicate the potential for tornadoes. We have a 2% indicated in this dark green area, and then a 5% chance for tornadoes in this brown area. So wherever you guys live, or whatever color you're in, that is your probability of seeing a tornado within a 25-mile radius. So areas near Seymour, Vernon, Wichita Falls, Lawton, Ardmore, Ada, McAllister, Atoka, Sherman, Gainesville, Bowie, areas north of Denton, you guys can get some activity right within the general vicinity. So you guys need to definitely watch out for the potential of some tornadic activity in this general area. And as we shift off to tomorrow's convective outlook here, our day 2 convective outlook, this is for Thursday, guys. You can see it's a much more expansive risk for severe weather. We have a 1 out of 5 in the dark green, 2 out of 5 in yellow, and then a 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale indicated in this orange. So wherever you guys live, that is your probability or chance, I guess I should say, for severe weather. And I mentioned that right around this area is where I would be more than concerned for your potential for tornadoes. And if we take a look at the outlook for tornadoes, our probability for this parameter, we have a 2% chance indicated in green, 5 in brown, and then we have a 10% chance indicated in this yellow area. But you guys also notice here that we have a little bit of a mesh right within this yellow area. You see how some yellow areas aren't covered in that mesh, but then you also have some areas within the yellow that is covered by the mesh, and that is your significant risk for tornadoes. You have a 10% chance or greater of seeing an EF2 tornado or stronger within a 25-mile radius. So that is a very, very big indicator that we do have the chance for significant tornadoes within this area, and that is the reason why I will be live streaming tomorrow. So we're going to talk about the severe weather first, guys, although we are going to talk a little bit about the winter weather aspect with this, as this is practically the only area that we can talk about it here for portions of Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. But for the most part, we're going to stick with severe weather here in the beginning, and then we're going to shift towards the winter weather as we head on towards the latter stages of the video. So this is the simulated radar here from the HRRR model. Of course, the time is above me in Eastern. And as we play this out here from the afternoon hours of Wednesday into Thursday, things don't really happen. You're looking at me and you're trying to figure out why things aren't happening. Well, it's because there is a delay in moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. The 850 millibar jet that we were talking about in yesterday's video doesn't really start cranking until about this time period, and the moisture really doesn't start rising up from the Gulf of Mexico into the areas to where the slight risk actually is. So you won't see showers and thunderstorms actually start forming until about 10 or 11 o'clock in the evening. You can see how things really start to kind of form across this general area and become quite a mess for the most part. And things really don't start to become super significant until about 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning for areas like Oklahoma, like Texas, right around the Wichita Falls, Lawton area. So if you guys live within those areas, you really need to watch out for some significant damaging winds as well as some large hail. All right, the threat for large hail is definitely possible because we do have enough energy within these areas, and the lapse rates, which basically take a look at the displacement between the warm air rising and cold air sinking as well. If you have steeper lapse rates, then the updrafts will be more significant, which in turn can lead to larger hailstones. So we need to continue to watch out for that. Threat for hail, strong damaging winds, and tornadoes is definitely possible overnight tonight. And on the other hand, if you are north of the Arctic boundary right here, you see you got a lot of snow, freezing rain, and sleet on the backside. That'll continue to be the case as this moves on through further and further. You can see how this really doesn't start to move out of the area until about Thursday afternoon into the evening, to where the severe weather risk does start to elongate into portions of the deep south. We'll talk about that here in a second. But the snow, you can see it'll continue to linger for the most part until around this time period when things start to become lighter and lighter. And places like St. Louis, Springfield, Kansas City, Columbia, areas towards Peoria, you guys could start to get your snow all the way through until the overnight hours of Thursday into Friday. But just to go a little bit more in depth with the severe weather risk here, let's show you how things progress with the HRRR model. You can see how you got a lot of these showers and thunderstorms that have these little red beads in the middle. These storms are really interesting for the most part, because if they become significant within this time period, they could definitely produce a tornado, but because there's so many around them, it's basically cooling the atmosphere around it. So around this time period, there really isn't a whole lot to anticipate, but the thing that I am watching out for the most is areas out in front of that. Right within here could be some storms that pop out in front of this. If they do take advantage of the environment out there with the heavy amounts of moisture as well as some convective available potential energy, we could be talking about some supercells that could produce tornadoes out there. But otherwise, if we transition from the morning to the afternoon hours, you start to see a lot bigger red blobs across the area. And these red blobs are starting to rotate. All right, we talked about in the video yesterday, the photographs could indicate as to what some of the supercells could look like, and if they start arcing like this, that means you could potentially get the chance for tornadoes across the board. And here we go, we got that activity across the board. A lot more coverage as we can actually look at this further and further. So there is some really interesting activity here according to the HRRR model that is expected to continue from the afternoon into the evening hours, early afternoon hours, maybe even almost the morning hours, which is the reason why I want to live stream just a bit before that, so that I can not only try and tell people as to how this environment has fared from what we see in the models right now to then, but also just in case if there's anything that forms before any of this. So it's just one of those things where we're going to have to continue to watch out for this and, just be on our toes when we live stream. But for the most part, once it starts to get past 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, that's when things start to become a lot more of a strong damaging wind risk. So at this point, when it gets towards like Birmingham, even further down south as we head towards the central portions of Alabama, even in towards the Atlanta general vicinity, that's when things start to really kind of fade away, but it's going to be more of a strong damaging wind risk by then. So that's the timings for the severe weather. The big thing to take away from that is that significant tornadoes are possible, as well as strong damaging winds. By the time we get to Thursday, I don't think there's going to be as much of a hail threat, so I think it's going to be more of a wind and tornado threat. But regardless, all right, tornadoes, it only takes one tornado to impact someone's life. So I would highly recommend that if you know anyone who lives within Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, even Kentucky in some spots, as well as Arkansas and southeastern Missouri, you need to go ahead and get this information out to those people who live in those areas and start spreading on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Copy the link of this video and spread it with other people. This is the timings for this event and how this continues to move on through. So if we try and get the information out to as many people as possible, it only takes one tornado to impact someone's livelihood. So please be sure to share this information with as many people as possible so that we can try and help save some lives. Now, on the other hand, let's take a look at the timings here for our winter weather event. You can see how things start to move on through and progress from the HRRR. And snow and sleet really doesn't start to form until we get to the early morning hours of Thursday. You can see portions of Chicago starts to get into the activity. And this is only expected to continue to move further and further down towards the south and east. And this is when things start to reach towards portions of central to northern Indiana, as well as into portions of Windsor and Detroit. And this is expected to continue to surge on further and further towards the north and east. Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, Ottawa, you guys are going to get your activity as well. Heavy snow is anticipated around this time frame from the afternoon to the evening hours of Thursday, and you guys are expected to get quite a bit of snow over here as this band doesn't really move off anytime soon. It's expected to continue to stay over the same exact area and produce some heavy snowfall amounts over that same exact area as well. So please be safe if you guys can, and please plan accordingly if you guys live within those areas. But other than that, areas south of the US-Canada border, you guys are expected to either get freezing rain, sleet, maybe a little bit of snow if you're in the higher elevations, or very heavy amounts of rain as this progresses on through. And I just want to show you guys some of the wind gusts here, because some of these areas here along the coastal United States and towards Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, you guys could potentially see hurricane force wind gusts within your area. Long Island all the way over towards the Cape Cod general vicinity, coastal Maine, coastal New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, all right? Some of the maximum wind gusts within your areas could be hurricane force or even higher than that towards some stages of around 85 to 90 miles per hour. So if you guys live within those areas, all right, you really need to watch out for the potential of some very strong damaging winds, and this will really start to kind of really surge on through by the Thursday morning hours into the Thursday evening hours. It's going to be really consistent during that time frame. And then overnight from Thursday into Friday. All right, that's when things really start to become significant. So my friends up there in the Northeast, you guys really need to watch out for this potential. Now let's take a look at the snowfall totals expected from the North American model here. We're going to be using this instead of the HRRR model because we want to try and get a better basis as to what could potentially happen. The HRRR, from what I could tell, has really been kind of underdoing some potential snowfall totals within some spots. So I just kind of want to get a better grasp as to what the situation could be. And we see a massive swath here of snow across the board, ranging from western Oklahoma, northern Texas, all the way through to central and eastern Kansas. So places like Wichita can get into the activity. Near Kansas City, maybe a little bit further south of Kansas City, you guys could get into the action as well. Columbia, as well as a little bit further north of St. Louis towards the Peoria general vicinity. Maybe even portions of Chicago could get into the activity. Northern Indiana, extreme northwestern Ohio and southern Michigan, all the way through and towards Ontario. You guys can get quite a bit of snow. And then as we get towards the St. Lawrence River, Montreal to Quebec City, all right? If you guys live within those areas, you guys are expected to get a lot of snow. Quebec City might even get an almost up to 20 inches of snow, maybe even almost to 30 inches of snow, according to the North American model. You can see at the bottom right-hand corner, it says so. So it's really interesting to see as to how much snow some areas could get. But otherwise, you guys are expecting quite a bit of snow. And then the freezing rain department, well, there are some localized amounts up here in northern Maine. You guys can get almost, 1.75 inches of ice. But other than that, I'd say a good basis for how much ice some people could get is about 1/2 inch of ice. And that is big enough or heavy enough for you guys to potentially have some significant road conditions. Power outages across the board could definitely be possible. Areas, even within the strong damaging winds. If you are in any of these areas that I have circled, you guys are probably going to get some power outages across the board. So I would definitely watch out for that potential as this continues to move about. And Buffalo is an area that I'm kind of watching out for, maybe even towards Toronto. I'd say if you're a little bit more towards Hamilton, though, you guys could probably get a little bit of power outage activity. Cleveland is definitely an area. Erie, you guys are definitely an area that I'm watching out for as well. And maybe even areas near Springfield and Joplin. You guys could potentially even get some power outages across the board over there as well. So watch out for that. Some significant weather is expected across some of these areas. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. As I said, I'm not really going too much in depth as to why this all is happening. If you want that information, please go to the videos that I have uploaded in the past. If you're watching this after the fact, please be sure to go into my channel and see some of the videos that I have uploaded more recently so that you can be up to date with the stuff that's happening right now. So other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family and on social media. Also follow me on social media, link will be in the description down below. The Give It To Me Straight question of the day will be, I have started editing my video for the historical tornado series that I'm going to be doing in the future. It's going to be a completely edited video to where I talk about a historical tornado and whatnot. And I'm more orienting it off of tornadoes that have been forgotten in history. So what do you think my first video would be? My members know what date it actually occurred on, but for the people who don't know, all right, what tornado is it? Let me know in the comments down below. If you guess it right, I will pin it. And other than that, that's going to be it for me. I will see you guys either tonight or tomorrow morning. So peace out, everyone.